And welcome to Midday Prime. I'm Gautam Roy, and over the next 1 hour, we'll bring you up to speed with all the updates coming in from the country as well as the world. We'll get you as to what's happening, the latest on the first day of the monsoon session of Parliament, and also tell you what are the reactions to Freedom Day, day one of the day when most of the restrictions in the UK related to COVID have been taken off. Also around a time when UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has himself had to self-isolate. But first, the big news of the hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserts that the government wants COVID pandemic to be discussed on priority and hopes to get constructive suggestions from all MPs. Urges all parties to ask difficult and sharp questions, but also allow the government to respond in Parliament. The opposition creates a ruckus inside both the houses of Parliament as the PM introduces his Council of Ministers. The PM says opposition is creating uproar as their mindset is anti-tribal, anti-women, anti-OBC and anti-farmers. Rajnath Singh lashes out at the Congress for indulging in unhealthy tactics. The government refutes allegations regarding government surveillance in so-called PEGASUS Project Media report, calls it baseless, terms it's a fishing expedition to malign the Indian democracy and its institutions. NSO Group calls the report as full of wrong assumptions and uncorroborated theories. PIL challenges 3 days relaxation given from COVID restrictions for Bakrid celebrations by the Kerala government in the Supreme Court, asks the state government to submit its reply within 24 hours. India administers 40.64 crore vaccine doses so far under nationwide vaccination drive. Over 38,000 new cases reported in the last 24 hours. Recovery rate increases to 97.32%. Incessant rains throw parts of Mumbai out of gear. 31 people killed in 2 separate incidents as building collapses due to landslides. And the forecast possibility of torrential rains in Mumbai and Konkan districts over the next 4 to 5 days. North India also receives heavy rains. The Karnataka government to conduct Class 10 exams in offline mode starting today. Over 8 lakh students to appear for the exams. It's relaxed COVID restrictions as well. Cinema halls, multiplex theatres can open with 50% occupancy. Schools to reopen in Chandigarh for classes 9 to 12. Tamil Nadu extends ongoing lockdown to the 31st of July. And in international developments, the British government lifts pandemic restrictions on daily life in England, scraps social distancing norms. Scientists and opposition parties slam the decision as a dangerous leap into the unknown. Okay, now let's get Midday Prime underway with the big news of the hour. Let's start with what's happening in Parliament, first day of the monsoon session. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today said that everyone must follow COVID-19 protocols even if they have taken the vaccine. Speaking to the media before the start of the monsoon session of Parliament, the PM asserted that the government wants that the COVID pandemic be discussed on priority and hopes to get constructive suggestions from all MPs to lend a fresh approach to the fight against COVID. He added that suggestions will help in correcting shortcomings, which will in turn help in moving forward together in the fight.
पैंडेमिक ऐसी महामारी है जो पूरे विश्व को अपनी चपेट में लिया हुआ है, पूरी मानव जात को अपनी चपेट में लिया हुआ है और इसलिए हम चाहते हैं कि संसद में भी इस पैंडेमिक के संबंध में सार्थक चर्चा हो, सबसे प्राथमिकता देते हुए इसकी चर्चा हो और सारे व्यवहारू सुझाव सभी माननीय सांसदों से मिले ताकि पैंडेमिक के खिलाफ लड़ाई में बहुत नयापन भी आ सकता है, कुछ कमियां रह गई हो तो उसको भी ठीक किया जा सकता है और इस लड़ाई में सब साथ मिलकर के आगे बढ़ सकते हैं।
The PM also urged all the MPs in all the parties to ask the most difficult and sharpest questions in the houses, but they should also allow the government to respond in a disciplined environment. The PM added that this will boost democracy, strengthen people's trust and improve the pace of development.
सार्थक चर्चा के लिए समर्पित हो, देश की जनता जो जवाब चाहती है वो जवाब सरकार को देने की पूरी तैयारी है। मैं सभी माननीय सांसदों से, सभी राजनीतिक दलों से आग्रह करूंगा कि वो तीखे से तीखे सवाल पूछें, धारदार सवाल पूछें, लेकिन शांत वातावरण में सरकार को जवाब का मौका भी दें, ताकि जनता जनार्दन के पास सत्य पहुंचाने से लोकतंत्र को भी ताकत मिलती है, जनता का भी विश्वास बढ़ता है और देश की गति भी तेज होती है, प्रगति की।
And the PM also urged all floor leaders to take out some time tomorrow evening so that he could give detailed information about the pandemic to them. The PM added that the government wants a discussion inside Parliament as well as with floor leaders outside the House.
मैंने सभी फ्लोर लीडर से भी आग्रह किया है कि अगर कल शाम को वे समय निकाले तो पैंडेमिक के संबंध में सारी विस्तृत जानकारी उनको भी मैं देना चाहता हूं। तो हम सदन में भी चर्चा चाहते हैं और सदन के बाहर भी सभी फ्लोर लीडर से, क्योंकि लगातार मैं मुख्यमंत्रियों से मिल रहा हूं, अलग अलग फोरम में सब प्रकार की चर्चा हो रही है, तो फ्लोर लीडर से भी मैं चाहता हूं कि सदन चल रहा है तो एक सुविधाजनक होगा, तो रूबरू मिलकर के उसकी बात होगी।
But quite contrary to the PM's approach and appeal, opposition parties disrupted Lok Sabha proceedings and shouted slogans as soon as Speaker Om Birla called Prime Minister Modi to introduce his new Council of Ministers. Addressing the lower house, the Prime Minister said that he expected enthusiasm in Parliament as so many women, Dalits, tribals became ministers. He added that perhaps some people are not happy that women, OBCs, farmers' sons have become ministers, and that is why they did not even allow their introduction.
माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, इस बार सदन में हमारे साथी सांसद जो किसान परिवार से हैं, ग्रामीण परिवेश के हैं, सामाजिक आर्थिक रूप से पिछड़े वर्ग से हैं, ओबीसी समाज से हैं, बहुत बड़ी मात्रा में उनको मंत्रिपरिषद में मौका मिला, उनका परिचय करने का आनंद होता। हर बैंक पर से बैंक को थपथपा करके उनका गौरव किया गया होता, लेकिन शायद देश के दलित मंत्री बने, देश की महिला मंत्री बने, देश के ओबीसी मंत्री बने, देश के किसानों के बेटे मंत्री बने, ये बात कुछ लोगों को राज नहीं आती है और इसलिए उनका परिचय तक नहीं होने देते हैं। और इसलिए माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, मंत्रिमंडल में नवनियुक्त सदस्यों को लोकसभा में इंट्रोड्यूस समझा जाए।
With the opposition in no mood to listen, Lok Sabha was adjourned till 2 p.m. amid the uproar by opposition MPs. Earlier, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh raised an objection, strong objection against the uproar while Prime Minister Modi was introducing his Council of Ministers in the House. He lashed out at the Congress party for indulging in unhealthy tactics by not even allowing PM to introduce his Council of Ministers.
मैंने देखा है कि जब भी कोई भी प्रधानमंत्री यहाँ हो, यदि वो अपने मंत्रिमंडल का विस्तार करता है तो चाहे एक मंत्री का शपथ ग्रहण हुआ हो या 50 मंत्रियों का शपथ ग्रहण हुआ हो, बराबर वह प्रधानमंत्री संसद में आकर सबसे पहले सदन की कार्रवाई प्रारंभ होते ही अपने मंत्रिमंडल के सभी सदस्यों का परिचय कराता है और पूरा सदन शांतिपूर्वक से प्रधानमंत्री की बात सुनता है और सभी जितने भी मंत्रीगण होते हैं उनका परिचय हासिल करता है। यह हेल्दी ट्रेडिशन यहाँ का रहा है। लेकिन मैंने पहली बार अपने 24 वर्षों के संसदीय जीवन में यह देखा है कि इस परंपरा को इस बार संसद में तोड़ा गया है। अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि जो कुछ भी कांग्रेस ने किया है वह दुखद है, वह दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है और साथ ही साथ यह अनहेल्दी अप्रोच है। यह कहते हुए मैं अपनी बात समाप्त करता हूं।
Let's also tell you what happened in the upper house, where the members of parliament in the Rajya Sabha paid tribute to MPs and personalities who lost their lives this year, including veteran actor Dilip Kumar and veteran athlete Milkha Singh. After paying tribute, the upper house was adjourned for 1 hour till 12:24 p.m. And Rajya Sabha then resumed proceedings at 12:24 p.m. The chairperson made opening remarks on COVID. As he gave stats on how many MPs have been vaccinated, some of the members started protesting. Then the chairperson went on to give statistics on the functioning of committees. The chairperson appreciated the work done by committees but did not mention that they remained dysfunctional for almost 2 months as they were not allowed to meet virtually. They could not function, in fact. The chairperson then called upon the PM to introduce his Council of Ministers when the opposition members intensified their protest. The PM then repeated the same speech as given in the Lok Sabha. Many women, Dalits, Adivasis, farmers in the Council of Ministers now, and he questioned why the opposition is protesting. After constant sloganeering by opposition members, the Rajya Sabha also was adjourned till 2 p.m. and we'll be getting you the latest on that as well. And then, of course, Rajya Sabha also paid tributes to two of its sitting members, late Sri Raghunath Mahapatra and late Sri Rajiv Satar as well. And if you talk about the lower house, it paid tributes to 40 former members as well. And Rajya Sabha Chairperson M. Venkaiah Naidu also expressed concern over members of the upper house not following sitting arrangements as decided considering COVID protocols. He said that members should keep their own welfare and that of others in mind while attending the session.
COVID protocol was followed during the last session and will be applicable for this session also. 139 members will be seated in the chambers of the House and 92 in the galleries above. But I could see that nobody is there in the galleries. I think everybody has come to the House. That's not good for you and for the country and for the people. I hope that Rajya Sabha Secretariat circulate the seating arrangement once again so as to facilitate the members to understand what is the arrangement which was there last session and also this session.
Now, while introducing the new Council of Ministers members in the upper house, Prime Minister Modi asked that which kind of mentality is this that does not encourage the inclusion of ministers from minority communities. His comments have come following a ruckus from members of opposition.
इस सदन में महिलाएं जो मंत्री बनी हैं, उनका परिचय हो रहा है। वो कौन सी महिला विरोधी मानसिकता है कि जिसके कारण इस सदन में उनका नाम भी सुनने को तैयार नहीं है, उनका परिचय भी कराने को तैयार नहीं है। कौन सी मानसिकता है जो दलितों का गौरव करने को तैयार नहीं, आदिवासियों का गौरव करने को तैयार नहीं, किसान के बेटे का गौरव करने का तैयार नहीं।
So, a combative Prime Minister in both houses of Parliament. Now, Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar has urged farmers to take the benefit of the government's farm reforms that are not only aimed at improving their lives but also boosting the agriculture sector. He reiterated the government's readiness to resume talks as well.
किसानों के मामले में भारत सरकार का स्टैंड पूरी तरह क्लियर है। हमने किसानों के प्रति बहुत ही संवेदनशीलता के साथ चर्चा की है और आज भी भारत सरकार किसानों के साथ चर्चा करने को तैयार है।
Okay, let me take you across to my colleague Vishal Baristo for more on what's happening in Parliament. Vishal, good afternoon to you. So far, things haven't gone according to plan in Parliament, but what can we expect now, in, say, the post-lunch period, as one might call it?
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Gautam. Today was the monsoon session. It was the day one, and rain gods have been very, very kind to us. It's been raining since morning. But unfortunately, the proceedings are not to be seen in either house of the Parliament. The lower house has been again adjourned till 3:30, and the upper house has been adjourned till 3 o'clock. So there have been repeated disruption on part of the opposition in both the houses, and as you heard the Prime Minister lamenting that it is very unfortunate that the opposition is not liking it the way the women, the farmers, the weaker sections of the society, the minorities have been elevated and they've been given ministerial berths, and I wanted to introduce them before the houses, both in lower house and the upper house, but that did not happen because perhaps the opposition is not very happy about it. Meanwhile, the opposition continues to raise slogans on the issue of farmers and the fuel price hike, and again there were disruptions. So it appears as if they had already decided, despite long meetings. Yesterday we saw how the speaker called the all-party meeting. Earlier the Parliamentary Affairs Minister had also called the meeting from all parties, in which 40 members from 33 parties had participated. Prime Minister was also there.
Yes.
And on Saturday, even the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, the vice president of the country, had also called for the floor leaders of all parties. But unfortunately, that did not happen, and all the efforts of the government to seek cooperation from the opposition, and the Prime Minister going on record saying that you can ask any question, we are ready to hear, and we would like to answer to all your queries, especially on the issue of pandemic. But there has to be some kind of atmosphere, especially no unruly scenes can be allowed in the Parliament. Both Speaker and the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha said it on record, but that did not happen, and so both houses so far adjourned, and as I told you, the timings, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So let's hope for the best, but it appears that as if opposition has decided that it would not let the house function, either house. Gautam?
Yes, and what have the presiding officers in both the houses had to say about it so far?
Well, I was there in the Lok Sabha, and the Prime Minister was also there. Even before the Prime Minister stood up and started speaking, even before the proceedings had started, the moment the national anthem came to an end, opposition started shouting slogans, and the Speaker said that we are the largest democracy of the world, and the whole world is watching us. We want to pay homage at its obituary time, especially for those who were part of this historic Parliament. So please behave. And after repeated requests, the opposition leaders, for some time, they went back to their seats, and immediately after the 2-minute silence was observed, they came to the well headed by the Akali Dal, and then other opposition parties also joined in. Okay. And so the house had to be adjourned till 2 o'clock, and then again it has again been adjourned till 3:30, and the upper house was first adjourned till 2 o'clock and now till 3 p.m. So it appears that opposition is in no mood to let the house function, and it is very, very unfortunate. Gautam?
Yes, certainly. And let's hope that some sort of a way and means could be worked out where, both the sides sitting across from the aisle can listen to each other and allow for something constructive to happen on day one, although right now the possibility does look remote of the monsoon session of Parliament, but you keep an eye on the proceedings if something happens with Vishal, and do let us know. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment. Okay, we are taking a quick break at this point, but after that we'll get to the latest on how a certain report about surveillance by the government, allegations that have been completely set aside, they've been denied and been termed malicious as well by the government. We'll tell you all about it. Stay tuned.
As the US withdraws from Afghanistan, Taliban steps up its offensive, captures key towns and border crossings, raising fears of a return to a cycle of violence, death and destruction. To know what's at stake for India and the world, the Taliban shot down a US helicopter. Watch Afghanistan, What Next? At 7:30 p.m. on Monday, 19th July, only on DD India. As the US withdraws from Afghanistan, Taliban steps up its offensive, captures key towns and border crossings, raising fears of a return to a cycle of violence, death and destruction.
This entire Pegasus report is about and how the government has taken it. Well, if you look at how the government has reacted, it's termed this report completely malicious. It's saying that the news report appears to be a fishing expedition, and it also said the news report seems like it's an attempt to malign Indian democracy. It further says that the news report also indicates poorly conducted research, and it's also said that there's lack of due diligence by the media organizations involved, multiple media organizations involved in this entire process. They've also said that malicious claims about alleged link between the government of India and Pegasus have been made, and the government has completely denied it. Also, the government has said that India is a robust democracy. India is committed to the right to privacy as well of all its citizens as a fundamental right. The government has further said that there is no concrete basis to the allegations of government surveillance on specific people, because that's what's been alleged in the report. It's also said that similar claims were made regarding the use of Pegasus earlier, and even the previous allegations categorically denied by all parties, including WhatsApp in the Supreme Court. Let's also tell you what the NSO Group, which is the Israeli company which sells Pegasus as a product, has issued a statement, and where it said that it has firmly denied all the allegations. It's also said report by Forbidden Stories, that's the agency, full of wrong assumptions and of course misappropriation. Then also serious doubts have been raised over the reliability and interest of the sources. Furthermore, what has been said is that it seems unidentified sources have supplied information with no factual basis at all. Also, there's lack of supporting documentation for many of these claims. Furthermore, NSO said that it's considering defamation lawsuit as the allegations are completely outrageous. So they're saying that the matter might end up in court. They've also said there's good reason to believe that the claims have been made and are based on misleading interpretation of data. Now, they've said that the data that has been used is accessible and over basic information such as HLR lookup services, which have been misinterpreted. There are allegations that have found to have had no bearing on the list of customer targets of Pegasus or any other NSO product, and such services are openly available to anyone, anywhere and anytime. They've also said that such services are commonly used by government agencies and private companies worldwide as well. They've also said that the claim that data leaked from the company's servers is completely false, it's a lie, and it's completely ridiculous. They've also said that such data never existed on any of the company's servers. Now, it's also said that the NSO, which is the company, it sells its technology solely to law enforcement and intelligence agencies of vetted governments. And it's also said that the sole purpose of this entire exercise is to save lives through preventing crime and incidents of terror, acts of terror. It's also said that the NSO does not operate the system and has no visibility to the data. So it does not have access, the data is not on the server, so they've completely trashed this report. Let's go across to senior journalist. Sanjay Singh now. We bring him on to just get his comments as well. Sanjay Singh, if you can hear me, let me just ask you, in terms of how these denials have been issued and the report has been completely discredited, not just by the government, by the company as well, by NSO. Does this matter die a natural death now? Because it seems that the entire report, forbidden secrets, they don't have a leg to stand on, really.
Gautam, to begin with, I'll answer your second question. Does this die a natural death? See, those who published this report timed it with opening of monsoon session, because if you read the report which was published here by a website called The Wire, and some other foreign media agencies published it. If you read that report, there is nothing substantive. There is actually practically nothing. So raises some smoke, but I would say without fire. They are trying to create a smoke screen where perhaps none exists. Then the timing of it was such that even if there was nothing in the report, on basis of just the headline, because the headline by itself was trying perhaps to be alarming, and therefore it was picked up by all media outlets here in India. And opposition parties, of course, Rahul Gandhi tweeted about it, and they have got something to point corner the government. But it will continue for a few days, of course, because the opposition parties will continue to raise it. But it will not impact in the sense in terms of popular opinion, because I don't think any wrong has been done, at least going from what the report, their own report has said. If you see, they say that you need physical possession of phones to actually verify or say that whether this particular phone was targeted, hacked, and the data was used for whatever purposes. How do you do that?
Yes.
And therefore, they demand that those phones, they test that those phones should be given physical possession, and forensic examination be conducted. I don't think this is possible anywhere till this time you are accused in some heinous crime or something else. About Part B, you have gone into details as to what was the statement of the company to say, and also of the government. Some kind of surveillance, of course, goes on, but there are defined practices. In India, there is defined pattern as to who can do these kind of surveillances, in what conditions, what circumstances. There has to be written orders, and so on and so forth. This is a long checklist so that this thing is not misused. Raising a bogey, we have seen too many things going on different.
But Sanjay, this is not the first time. This is not the first time that such a report has come out and it's been denied. And again, we've not heard much from those who came out with the report as to how can they counter all that has been completely discredited by the government and now by the agency, by NSO themselves, whose product is Pegasus. So, and they're saying now that they will go in a defamatory kind of a suit. So this matter will then come to a situation where all these organizations involved in this expose, so to speak, will get further exposed.
Yeah, you are right, Gautam. The fact remains that how do this particular thing was trashed 2 years ago when similar thing was raised, and that matter went to court also. Now look at how they gain so much of credibility and so much of publicity. Just because they say that this is there is a French company called Forbidden Stories, and that is a collective where 16 different foreign media outlets jointly work, and they have come out with this particular report. If you go in names of those publications, all publications, I dare say, are overtly anti-Modi, / in some cases, of course, publications and the kind of items that appear goes against national interest. Some designed, of course, some publishing half-truths. I'm not saying there shouldn't be any investigation per se if something like this happens, but there has to be some substance. You cannot simply raise a bogey and say and make this kind of allegation, which challenges some government's credibility. So therefore, I'm sure the concerned departments and concerned agencies will take care of that. Do whatever in kind of, you was talking about defamation and something so on and so forth. Those corrective measures should be taken place. But the point, there is another company which name also figured in Bhima Koregaon.
Right.
That is also part of the company which investigated. Take for instance Amnesty International. Amnesty International is long exited from India in the circumstances that we all know. The facts and circumstances are well known, because the company was actually indulging in things which were not in its domain. It says that Amnesty International, actually their technical team verified this, so on and so forth. There is another company which also has some questionable links with Koregaon. These things, of course, are matter of further investigation. As of now, they try to create some kind of a suspicion in minds of people at large. So the headline and the report, which may create some kind of confusion and create speculation, so that people go on talking about whether who is involved, okay, that guy is involved, X, Y, Z, whatever names in politics, in judiciary, in media.
Yes, certainly. I mean, allegations, and there are now investigations going on to, you mentioned the Bhima Koregaon link, and that is a link that has China mentioned as well. But in this case, the attempt seems to be more homegrown when it comes to Pegasus.
Yeah. Also because they have included one Indian digital publication, just to say that India is also party to that, and what kind of there something was given, and at large back together and with an open mind, because government statement yesterday, whatever government said in its response, says that the questions were drafted in such a manner that it had already reached to a conclusion, and after that was asking questions. This, of course, in political arena, yes, this will continue, because we have seen nature of opposition in the parliament for last years, whereby they somehow tried to disrupt proceedings of parliament for a few days. The basic idea is to get morning headlines in television, also in digital media, and some spread in social media, so that the issue comes alive. I don't think they are prepared for a discussion over this, because on facts, and they are actually very, very weak as to what to argue beyond going for speculations about speculative stories that has appeared, I would say conjectures made in these stories.
But so, these media organizations that are involved in this entire Pegasus project, doesn't it become difficult for them, doesn't it become incumbent upon them, if they value their own credibility, that they respond to what the government has said, which has completely discredited their attempt so far? The government said that they haven't backed it up with enough evidence, with enough data and other pieces of information.
But what to say of media credibility? The Western media, which says that they are international media and value blah 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 blah. One of them, New York Times, publishes an ad, gives an ad to have a correspondent in India, And one of their principal eligibility criteria is that person should be anti-Modi, anti-Prime Minister Modi. And so therefore, what about credibility of those organizations which claim to be vanguards of fourth state? The Indian publication which is involved here, people have their opinion about that publication, what kind of publication that is. So I don't really think that credibility of any kind is an issue here for those who are publishing. Motivation, of course, could be an issue as to what kind of agenda that you want to pursue. If actually something of this kind had happened, then of course this was a very, very serious issue.
Right.
Unfortunately, what they have published, what is there in public domain, some few things were in public domain already, they have been trashed earlier, nowhere, and those things have again come up. And whatever has been published give nothing substantive for any reader to believe as to what their headline says. Body does not have anything substantive to say what their headline says.
Right, if they feel that their report is genuine, perhaps they need to respond to what the NSO Group has said, which is the company that sells the PEGASUS software as a product, and of course what the government has said, if they have anything substantial. Otherwise, this will die on its own, and so will their own reputation. Thanks a lot for joining us, Sanjay Singh. Well, let's now get into what our developing story is at the moment. Well, top Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist Ishfaq Dar, alias Abu Akram, was among two terrorists killed in Siddiq Khan area of South Kashmir's Shopian in the wee hours today. According to IGP Kashmir, Ishfaq Dar, alias Abu Akram, was active since 2017. He congratulated the J&K police and security forces for the successful operation. The operation was carried out by a joint team of police armies 34RR and CRPF after having specific information about the presence of some terrorists in the area. And giving insights of the encounter in the Shopian district, IGP Kashmir Vijay Kumar informed that two terrorists were killed during the encounter. He said that one of them was ADT commander Ishfaq Ahmed Dar, and he was active since 2017. Kumar also said that Dar was a police constable earlier and was involved in many killings of police personnel and civilians.
शोपियन को इन्फॉर्मेशन मिला था कि लश्कर तैयबा का 2-3 मिलिटेंट छिपे हुए हैं। उसके बाद पुलिस आर्मी सीआरपीएफ ने कॉर्डन डाला। कॉर्डन डालते ही अंदर से ग्रेनेड थ्रो किया मिलिटेंट ने। इसमें आर्मी के एक जवान माइनर इंजरी हुई। उसके बाद इनकाउंटर चलता रहा। बीच में हम लोग इनकाउंटर को रोक दिए क्योंकि सिविलियन फंसा हुआ था, उसको इवैक्यूएट किए। उसका फिर से इनकाउंटर रिज्यूम हुआ, जिसमें देर रात में 2 टेररिस्ट मारे गए, जिसमें इस्फाक अहमद दार है जो लश्कर तैयबा का पुराना कमांडर है और ये 2017 से मिलिटेंसी में। ये पहले पुलिस में कांस्टेबल था और बहुत सारे किलिंग में इन्वॉल्व है।
And it's time now for our national prime updates. Let's first get you what's the COVID situation in the country right now. Well, India continues to see decline in COVID-19 cases overall. The country has registered 40.64 crore vaccine doses having been administered so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. Over 3.03 crore recoveries have been recorded so far across the country as well, out of which over 38,660 patients recovered during the last 24 hours. With this, the recovery rate has increased to 97.32%. 38,164 daily new cases have been recorded in the last 24 hours as well. India's active caseload has declined to 4,21,665. Active cases constitute 1.35% of the total cases. Weekly positivity rate continues to remain below 5% and is currently at 2.08%. Daily positivity rate currently stands at 2.61%, which is less than 3% for 28 consecutive days. Testing capacity has been substantially ramped up, with 44.54 crore tests conducted so far. The Kerala government's announcement of a slew of relaxations for 3 days due to Bakrid has been challenged in the Supreme Court. In a PIL, it has been mentioned that the relaxations announced by the Kerala government would lead to mass gatherings, which in turn will exacerbate the COVID-19 crisis in the state. The application has been moved in the Supreme Court's suo motu case, raising concerns over proposed Kawar Yatra in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Whereas in the said case, the Supreme Court had expressed reservations over permitting of Kawar rituals, considering the threat of COVID protocols. The PIL highlights that the Kerala government is acting casually by relaxing lockdown restrictions for Bakrid festival from the 18th of July till the 20th. The Kerala government, however, said restrictions have not been lifted fully, while only some shops are permitted to open in view of the festival. The court has asked the state government to file a reply by today itself, and it will hear the matter tomorrow. In Karnataka, the government is conducting Class 10 exams in the offline mode starting today, as it has decided to go to grade 4 unlock. Over 8 lakh students are appearing for these exams. The board exams for Class 10 are taking place till the 21st of July. Now, this is an objective type exam with multiple choice questions. Moderate to intense spells of rainfall was witnessed over Mumbai, Palghar, Ratnagiri and Sindhudurg since the last few hours. Intense to very intense spells were also seen in Thane and Raigad. The IMD has forecast the possibility of torrential rains in Mumbai and Konkan districts over the next 4 to 5 days. The Met Office has also forecast moderate to heavy thunder showers in the city and suburbs, with the possibility of very heavy to extremely heavy rainfall at isolated places. Meanwhile, the BMC has asked Mumbai residents to boil water before drinking after flooding of the water purification complex in Bhandup due to heavy rains affecting pumping and filtration equipment. Also, over 31 people have been killed in separate incidents of landslides in Mumbai. Heavy rainfall overnight disrupted Mumbai's life. 21 people were dead in Chembur landslide incident and 10 people were killed in Vikhroli hutment collapse incident. Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray chaired a meeting on Sunday with officials over the situation. Uddhav Thackeray has announced an ex gratia of 5 lakh rupees for the kin of each of the victims. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi had announced ex gratia of 2 lakh rupees each from PM-NRF to the next of kin of those who lost their lives due to wall collapses in Mumbai. 50,000 rupees will also be given to the injured. Also, 8 persons were killed after the car they were travelling in fell into a gorge in the Nandurbar district of North Maharashtra today. The incident took place in the afternoon near Dhadgaon in the district, around 450 kilometers from Mumbai. Prime Minister Modi has called it a tragic incident and has expressed condolences to those who have lost their loved ones in the accident. He also prayed for the injured. Ex gratia of 2 lakh rupees each from the Prime Minister's Relief Fund would be given to the next of kin of the deceased, and 50,000 rupees would also be given to the injured. So, fairly tenuous situation right now in Mumbai and a lot of areas around it. Sharma Mishra, my colleague, is tracking all the developments where this is concerned. Sharma, in the first place, we have lost quite a lot of lives in this heavy spell of rain. Just tell us, in terms of relief and rescue, if people are still in trouble, how's that side of things going on right now?
Well, talking about that, Gautam, till now, till 22nd of July, there's going to be more rain, there's going to be more trouble for Mumbaikars and adjoining areas of Mumbai, including Navi Mumbai, Thane, Palghar, and the Konkan coast of Maharashtra. So, red alert has been issued for areas like Sindhudurg, Ratnagiri, Raigad, and orange alert has been issued for areas like Mumbai, Thane, Palghar. These areas will witness, like I've already mentioned, heavy to very heavy rainfall till 22nd of July. So, Maharashtra and Mumbaikars should brace themselves for more heavy rain throughout 2 to 3 more following days. Apart from that, you mentioned about rescue and rescue operations. We already saw yesterday that, in the various 3 different mishaps that happened in Maharashtra, in Mumbai due to rain-related, the rescue operations have already been concluded, and the bodies have been found, the injured have been taken to the hospital. So now, after those incidents, Maharashtra Chief Minister had called an emergency meeting with all those who are involved in administration, be it the BMC, Mumbai Police, or the district administration. They have been told that, keep an eye on all these areas which could have a possible landslide in future, because there is orange alert issued for Mumbai. The areas which have towers of high voltage electricity, dilapidated buildings where due to heavy rain it could collapse and there could be more losses of life. So keep an eye on that, be alert and avoid any untoward incident. He also urged all these administrations that they should have better coordination when something like that, some untoward incident happens. There should not be any delay in rescuing people, in rescuing and saving lives. So yes, Mumbai and Maharashtra, parts of Maharashtra will have to brace themselves for more rainy days ahead. The rain that we are already seeing, Mumbai, Thane, Navi Mumbai, these have been, incessant rainfalls, and that is why the services of Central Railway railway services have been affected. The line on Central Railway's main line, which is CSMT, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharashtra, Minister Kalyan, that has been affected, and the trains are running cautiously. So cautiously meaning there could be a delay of 20 minutes to 30 minutes. Apart from that, air operations were also affected when the Saturday rain had hit Mumbai. Now that has come to a normal. Apart from that, on the Konkan Railway, there has been some, soil slide on the track between the Tivim and Karmali, and that is why many number of trains have been cancelled, or we could say delayed.
It seems that right now there are situations that are quite possible that they might crop up because of the forecast of heavy rains in large parts of that coastal area of Maharashtra, including, as you said, orange alert for Mumbai itself. So people need to be on the lookout and be careful themselves if they are stepping out. Otherwise, COVID already sort of makes it incumbent upon you not to step out until and unless it's absolutely necessary, and above all, stay safe. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Sharma. Okay, and in Midday Prime, it's time to get you all the updates from the world of business and economy. Let's bring in Tanvi now with all the business and economy updates.
Thank you, Gautam. The domestic stock markets have slumped in afternoon trade on Monday amid a sell-off in the Asian markets. So the Sensex at the BSE had plunged 702 points, so 1.3% to 52,438 a short while ago. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange had slipped 208 points, so 1.3% to 15,715. In the broader market, the BSE Mid-Cap Index had lost 0.6%, while the Small Cap Index had shed 0.2%. The top index gainers are BPCL, Divis Labs, NTPC and Nestle with gains of between 0.7 and 1.9%. Talking about the top index losers so far, they are HDFC Bank, HDFC, IndusInd Bank and Axis Bank with losses of between 1.2 and 2.9%. Other key Asian markets also lost considerable ground on Monday, while perceived safe haven assets including the yen and the gold edged higher as investor risk appetite was soared by fears of rising inflation and a relentless surge in coronavirus cases. So MSCI's broadest index of Asia Pacific shares outside Japan dropped 1.3%. Japan's Nikkei 225 index slipped 1.3% again. China's Shanghai Composite Index declined 0.1%. South Korea's Kospi Index slumped 0.9%. And Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index tumbled 1.8%. Back home at the Forex market, the rupee had depreciated 20 paise against the dollar in opening trade on Monday as a firm American currency and weak domestic equities weighed on investor sentiment. Later, the rupee remained weak and had dropped 24 paise to 74 rupees 80 paise against the dollar in afternoon deals a short while ago. At the multi-commodity exchange, gold had declined 150 rupees to 47,903 rupees per 10 grams. Silver had dropped 639 rupees to 67,680 rupees per kilo. And finally, global crude oil prices fell more than $1 a barrel on Monday after the OPEC Plus group of producers overcame internal divisions and agreed to boost output, sparking some concerns about a crude surplus as COVID-19 infections continue to rise in many countries. So Brent crude oil was down $1.08 or 1.5% at $72.51 a barrel after falling nearly 3% last week. US oil was down $1.01 or 1.4% at $70.80 a barrel, having declined almost 4% last week. OPEC Plus ministers agreed on Sunday to increase oil supply from August to cool prices than earlier this month, which this month had climbed to the highest in around 2.5 years as the global economy recovers from the COVID-19 pandemic. So that's it for now from the world of business. Back to you, Gautam.
Thank you, Tanvi. And let's now turn to getting you all the updates from around the world as well. Let's talk about Britain first. Well, there will be no limits from today on how many people can meet or attend events, nightclubs can reopen, and table service will not be necessary in pubs and restaurants. Face coverings will be recommended in some spaces but not required by law. Ahead of lifting of restrictions, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has urged caution and said they must self-isolate when told to do so. Some scientists are predicting that UK infections, currently at about 50,000 a day, could reach 2 lakh a day later in the summer. But with more than 68% of UK adults fully vaccinated, modelling suggests hospital admissions, serious illnesses and deaths from COVID-19 will be at a lower level than in earlier peaks.
This virus is sadly still out there. Cases are rising. You can see the extreme contagiousness of the Delta variant, but we have this immense consolation and satisfaction that there is no doubt at all that the vaccine program, the massive vaccination program, has very severely weakened the link between infection and hospitalization and between infection and serious illness and death. And that is the vital thing. So please, please, please be cautious. Go forward tomorrow into the next step with all the right prudence and respect for other people and the risks that the disease continues to present. And above all, please, 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 when you're asked to get that second jab, get your jab, please come forward and do it.
Okay, a lot of people keeping their fingers crossed on Britain's Freedom Day. Moving on, in Russia, Moscow has welcomed easing of COVID-19 restrictions, including cancellation of QR code requirements for sitting in restaurants and hotels. The Moscow government's decree providing relaxations came into effect from Monday, 3 weeks after being imposed to curb the surge in cases. The country has reported over 59,58,000 cases of COVID-19, with fatalities crossing 1,48,000 so far. And it's time now to get you all the sporting updates as well. And Narayan joins us for a quick wrap of the sporting news.
Thanks, Gautam. As the Tokyo Olympics is just approaching, and we are regularly profiling the various medal contenders for India. And in hockey at the Tokyo 2020, this time the 16-member Indian team will be led by midfielder Manpreet Singh. The Indian players would be looked to learn from the experience of defender Rupinder Pal Singh, Surendra Kumar and forward Mandeep Singh, who are also part of the previous Indian Olympic squad in Rio de Janeiro in 2016. But the most interesting fact about this Indian squad is that out of 16 players, as many as 10 players are going to feature in their maiden Olympics. More in this report. The Tokyo Olympics, which were postponed to 2021 from 2020, are now around the corner. In our countdown to the Tokyo Olympics, we are regularly profiling some of the biggest medal contenders at the upcoming quadrennial event. One team which is expected to do well at the games this time is the Indian men's hockey team. Hockey has traditionally been India's best sport at the Olympics, yielding as many as 11 medals from 1928 to 1980. These include as many as 8 gold medals, 1 silver and 2 bronze medals. However, it has been a long time since India won a hockey medal at the Olympics. The last time was in the 1980 Moscow Games when the men's team won the gold. Can the current men's team break the 40-year jinx this time? Indian men's hockey squad for Tokyo Olympics is like this. Goalkeeper P.R. Sujesh. Defenders Harmanpreet Singh, Rupinder Pal Singh, Surendra Kumar, Amit Rohidas, Birendra Lakra. Midfielders Hardik Singh, Manpreet Singh, Vivek Sagar Prasad, Nilakant Sharma, Sumit. Forwards Shamsher Singh, Dilpreet Singh, Gurjan Singh, Lalit Kumar Upadhyay, Mandeep Singh. Standbys Krishan Pathak, goalkeeper, Varun Kumar, defender, Simranjeet Singh, midfielder. But the most interesting fact about this Indian squad is that out of 16 players, as many as 10 players are going to feature in the maiden Olympics. These 10 players are Amit Rohidas, Hardik Singh, Vivek Sagar, Nilakant Sharma, Sumit, Shamsher Singh, Dilpreet Singh, Gurjan Singh, Lalit Kumar Upadhyay, Birendra Lakra. The Indian players would look to learn from the experience of defenders Rupendra Pal Singh and Surendra Kumar and forward Mandeep Singh, who are also part of the previous Indian Olympic squad in Rio de Janeiro in 2016. Sports Desk, DD India. People of Indian origin in Japan wish the Indian contingent for their best performance at the Tokyo Olympics, and they are hoping that Indian athletes will give their best at the games.
Namaste, I am Shrutika Kundam.
Namaste, I am Kavya Kundam. We welcome all the Indian players to Japan for Olympic 2020.
We cheer for India.
Gambari Mashu. हम अपना पथ कभी ना छोड़ेंगे, हम अपना प्रण कभी ना तोड़ेंगे, हिम्मत से नाता जोड़ेंगे, जननी की जय जय गाएंगे, भारत को ध्वज फहराएंगे.
Jai Hind.
We the whole India are with you. Do your best, compete with right spirits, you can do it.
Now, in cricket, India defeated Sri Lanka by 7 wickets in the first one-day international and took a 1-0 lead in the 3-match series on Sunday. Skipper Shikhar Dhawan scored unbeaten 86 to reach the target of 263 in just 36 overs, chasing 262. India completed the task with 80 balls to spare the Premadasan Stadium. Opener Prithvi Shaw smashed 43 of 24 balls, while debutant Ishan Kishan hit a blistering 59 in only 42 deliveries to power India. Earlier, Sri Lanka scored 262 for 9 after opting to bat first. Batting at number 8, Chamika Karunaratne top scored with 43 of 35 balls. The Indian bowlers never allowed the Sri Lankans to settle down and play a big innings in the first of the 6 limited over matches, including the 3 T20 international after the ODI rubber. That's all from the sporting arena. Back to you, Gautam.
Thank you, Narayan, for those updates. Let's now talk about the softer side of hard news, which is Life Prime. Well, Japan's historic 2011 tsunami hit Okawa Elementary School, which had opened for public as a memorial during a ceremony held in the city of Ishinomaki. The school exhibits the remnants of the deadly tsunami and the earthquake that claimed lives of 84 students and teachers. Bereaved families and city officials offered silent prayers and laid flowers during the ceremony. Visitors can view the entire 2-story school building from the yard. The distorted connecting corridor and exposed reinforced bars display the power of the tsunami. The city also built a museum to exhibit related items, including a cycle and a clock. That's something to remember those who suffered the onslaught of the tsunami in Japan. And that's all we have at the moment in this edition of MBP. And for all the latest, stay tuned to DD India. And for all practical purposes, do stay safe.
Bye.